Press record. Awesome. Well, welcome to week 7. I cannot believe we're at week 7 already. So this week we're talking about stress management, and from what I can see everyone commenting on Facebook, this is a really important subject. So as I mentioned in the email, stress and anxiety has been a huge factor all of my life. I used to stress when my mum left the house because I thought she was never coming back. I don't know why. And I used to make myself sick and hide in the corner until she got home. And not knowing she was coming home, she eventually always came home though. But it's definitely one of those things that grows like a ball over the years. And when we're running our own business as well, there is so many other variables that we have to deal with that I guess people who are going to, work for someone else don't necessarily have to deal with. So things like finances and, technical difficulties and all of those, policies and procedures as you're seeing, getting a legal person to come and, do policies and all of that stuff for you. So there's so much more to add to our plate. So it is really important to try and find some tools and, I guess, ways in your life to prevent it from happening. And also know that it's okay if it does happen, because we are human and there is a lot of variables in our life now. So it's good to learn ways to prevent, but it's also good to, oh my God, my neighbours pick all really great times to do stuff. It's also great to know what to do if it's happening straight away, because often anxiety and stress attacks can actually sneak up really fast. And if not managed correctly, can really snowball into something a lot bigger and a lot worse. So hopefully that's not too loud for you. So I know I went through a couple of the things in the email. Some things that really helped change for me, and it's a mix of everything that we've already gone through. Actually, what I might do, Geraldine, you're always the one here, so unfortunately I get to pick on you. No picking. Have you had any form of like anxiety or stress in your life? Like, is there anything that sort of happens to you when you can feel it sort of coming on?
It depends, I think, whether it's a physical or an emotional stress. I don't think I react the same way for each type of stress.
Yeah.
Sometimes I just want to be by myself and I sort of just hold everything, internally, and I don't want to let it out. Other times, if it gets to a point of, I think Brene Brown calls it chandeliering, where it just becomes too much. The next person I see is going to get all of it.
Yeah.
Not my proudest moment, but it's the truth. So it does vary. And sometimes it just makes me feel really sick. I think I feel a lot in my stomach area, good and bad. Yeah. So if it's something that's very stressful, I either get pains, especially on the left side of my stomach, or it's lung-wise, it's okay, but it's a lot lower for me, that some sort of pain will be present in that area.
Yeah, okay, great. And it is, well, not great, but it is something that is a physical thing. So it's great that you brought that up, because physical signs usually are really good telltale that something is not right. So it's just like when we have, when they say, listen to your gut feeling. And that is because a lot of our emotions and stuff are all held within us. And if we're not listening to that, and it can fester and sort of turn into something bigger. But there is a lot of physical things that can happen. So we can have tight chest, pains in the belly, or tightness in the belly even, or in the muscles contracting. And that tightness in the muscles, that's what makes it, wherever it is in your body, but that's what makes it feel restrictive. Because what happens is when we get stressed, where it sets off something in our brain, and it actually restricts the oxygen level in our body. So it then creates that tightness and that cramped. And that's why a lot of people feel it on their chest, and they feel really restricted in their chest, like they can't breathe. For one, when we're in stress, we're in flight mode. So we are breathing a lot shorter, and we're also, you know, the oxygen in our blood isn't flowing as clearly because we've been tightened up. So there's a lot of physical elements that can happen like that. There's like sweaty palms, migraines can happen, twitching in the eye can sometimes be related back to a stressful period. It's something that happens not often a once off. It usually happens a couple of weeks in a row, and that is because there's a stressful situation happening at the moment. So our body really does try to talk to us and talk us through these things. So it is important to know what your telltale sign is. So if it is your tummy, for me, I get restricted in my chest. And towards the end of last year, I was having attacks that made me feel like I was on a boat and that I had vertigo. And I had to lay down because the whole room was spinning. And now I sort of realize it was a mix of stress and anxiety, which can also lower our vitamin B, which can also affect our iron absorption. So it's just such a big run-on effect. So stress in the body is just not cruel. So we want to try not to put too much stress on ourselves at all, really. So what I wanted to talk about was just some things that helped, I guess, change and really make those attacks less. And some of these things might be things that you already do or have already changed, or there might be some tips in here for the future. So obviously we covered last week having a bit better nutrition. So nutrition's a big one because, as I mentioned last week, our tummies, if their tummies aren't healthy and we get leaky gut, it actually can cause our mood to change, and it can really trigger off some different reactions in our bodies. Also, if our liver and kidneys aren't working properly, it can actually also cause a toxic kind of feel in our bodies, or it could trigger unhealthy liver, or a backed up liver can actually cause some hormone issues in females. So it's just really important to make sure if you're eating healthy and eating as best as possible, then you know that your system's running smoothly. And that sort of will attribute to a good healthy body and a good healthy mind. The other thing, obviously, better nutrition and eating, like we mentioned last week, will help prevent brain fog. Brain fog, especially if we haven't eaten for a while, can be the biggest cause of stress because our body is already fighting for energy, and then the slightest thing will twig us. Hangry, I think the word is. So the slightest thing could trigger us and just cause unnecessary stress. So if we're constantly nourishing our body like we're supposed to be, we're just avoiding those situations. We don't want to be on a roller coaster. Sometimes being an entrepreneur is a roller coaster, but we don't want to put our body through that roller coaster of a ride of going through, a fight and then balance, because over time, they're the things that will add to a total burnout, and then nobody's good to anyone when we're totally burnt out. Obviously, a balanced lifestyle, so knowing when to say no, and also allowing yourself to love yourself and just be who you are. These are two huge things that I was not very good at, but I am very good at it now. and it really shows. It really does show. Being more active, as we've spoke about before, that movement in the body can really help give us something else to focus on rather than whatever that big, huge, dark monster is in our head that's happening at the time. And I did I don't know, I've showed you all before, but there is that app in there for daily yoga. And daily yoga, it is what it says, but it does do guided meditations as well. And they are free, and it's just such a great way. So if you have trouble quieting your mind while you're doing yoga, which is such a common thing, having someone guide you through it is so much better, because you're listening to them rather than trying to fight all those thoughts in your mind. So there's some really good guided meditations, I should say, on that daily yoga app. So try and start doing some of those meditations as well, to help you get into the habit of clearing your mind and just refocusing. Because what often happens is when we are in the middle of a stress or anxiety kind of feeling, it is really hard to think about anything else but what we're stressing about. So we need distractions, I guess. We need things to help us quieten our mind and really direct us somewhere else, or even bring us back into the present. So one of the great tips that I learnt from a lovely lady who wrote a book called Mind Your Feet is, when you're feeling stressed and overwhelmed, just go outside and put your feet on the grass and just really think about your feet on the grass. And it sounds so simple, but it just brings you back to reality. And often our minds can create the biggest drama and, hoopla, that if we just go back out and maybe listen to the birds and put our feet in the grass, it really does bring things back to reality. So it kind of makes things not as crazy. So knowing little tips like this will really help. Positive affirmations I've spoke about before as well. So it is all really about retraining the mind, nurturing the body for sure, but the body can be healthy and our minds may not be, and that is really the downfall, I think, sometimes, is because our mind is still working against us. So telling ourselves and being positive about things, so saying, I am healthy, I am, I do, things like that, rather than I'm not this, I'm not that, I can't do this, I can't do that. So it's really about keeping that positive feeling. And what you tell yourself and your mind is how you are. It's how your body responds, it's how your brain thinks, and that really helps as well. And then, the one thing that really helped me were the essential oils. So I don't know whether, I think it's more of the breaking the thought. So it's very much like the grass, putting your feet on the grass, putting an oil on, and some of them have a very crazy smell. They're not like pretty flowers. Some of them are a bit abrupt, but whatever it does, it helps twig the senses, and it just calms and soothes. So bringing the essential oils in has really helped as well. So I think it's really about finding a combination of things that work for you. For me, it's all of those things that I just read out to you. So it is a big lot of things, but it works. And I know that I haven't had a really bad attack or anything like that for a long time. And it's easier for me to bounce back now if I do start feeling like that, because for one, I have the tools to help me through it. And the mindset has changed a lot as well. So now if I do have a thought, my brain is actually a bit more trained now to go, no, that's a silly thought. That's not true at all. And I just carry on with another thought, So it is just about retraining our brain and managing it a lot better. There's lots of things that will come up stress-wise in our business. And I think if you really just look at ways to keep the balance. So have the breaks during the day. Also make sure that you've got really good systems in place. Make sure that you have those small times for yourself that are just for you, and really just have those boundaries. All of those things together can really help prevent having that huge burnout attacks like we often do. And it's such a common thing I used to actually see it a lot in the bank, but we didn't know what it was back then. We just knew that we were overworked and, probably coming down off a sugar rush or something. But a lot of us were so burnt out, but we didn't have an option to not do anything. We had to go. We could have a sick day if we wanted to. I used to call them mental health days because I honestly needed a mental health break by the time I had to have one. But it is really important to be educated and know what the signs are when you're getting to there. So I knew every morning I would go and I'd feel so overwhelmed because I would know what I had to do that day. And I was so overwhelmed by that list, and I would make myself sick. But to be honest, after about an hour or two, that task list was done. And then I'd be like, relieved. So it was such a big stress about nothing. And occasionally, it hasn't been lately actually, but when I first started in my own business, I was noticing the same thing. I would stress overnight about money. When's the next money coming in? When's the next client? And then in the morning, oh my God, I've got so much to do. I'm not going to have time to do it, blah, blah, blah. And, often it would take me an hour and then I'd be like, I got nothing to do now. So I think once you get into a routine and you know that, okay, well, I do have a bit to do tomorrow, but I've got all day tomorrow to do it. I don't need to get it done in the first hour. And I do need money for my business, but if it doesn't happen, there will be clients that come in. So it's even when I say stuff now, it's very much more on that positive side rather than the negatives. And I really find visualizing what I was wanting was helping a lot as well. So instead of visualizing myself stressed and poor and on the street like I kept thinking, I kept sort of visualizing those things that I wanted and how it would look. So, and look, sometimes I think when you're at a stage where it is becoming overwhelming, listening to someone tell you things like this doesn't help, because it's your own journey that you have to go through. But as long as you know the things you have to do or that you need to do for you personally to help you through those steps, that's really all that needs to happen. So before I go into the oils a little bit, Geraldine, do you, when you're starting to feel like that, is there anything particular that you like to do to help you kind of bring yourself back down?
Sometimes I just need to get away. So just getting up, either playing with Pierre, getting out in nature, as you said, spending time in the garden, little things like that, just to step away from the actual business, because I know that if I'm in that stressful moment, it'll just become too much and I won't have the clarity to know what to do next, because it's whatever's causing that stress is still there. Yeah. So sometimes stepping away. It was interesting how you were talking about the nutrition part before, because I know sometimes when I'm stressed, I'm very mindless in terms of the way I eat. I don't even think about it. It's whatever's near me. It's just so I think having some sort of consciousness or just having the awareness that either that stressful moment is there or before it even starts to escalate, recognizing that something is about to happen, and then either stepping away. And the other thing that helps me, and I may not even get to that point, is the thought of writing it down. Yeah. Something about writing for me seems really permanent, even though it's only for my eyes and I can easily delete or throw out that piece of paper later on. But the thought of writing it down makes me feel makes me think about how silly it is to be stressed about that situation.
Yeah.
And I almost don't want to write it down. So I often don't even get to the point of writing, but when I do, I just think, oh, it's, it's sort of a cathartic way of releasing whatever that stressful moment is.
Yeah.
Sounds weird, even though, it's something that happens before you even start writing, but it seems to work for me.
Yeah.
The other thing was, especially like working in the bank, I think being stressed was our go-to emotion or go-to way of being.
Yeah.
And I think sometimes there can be a comfort in that as well. Just having that as a vehicle to say, oh, I'm stressed, so, it's my excuse for acting this way or behaving this way. But it's a lot harder to recognize or to have the courage to step out of that comfort zone, if you like, and try something different.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think that the one thing that I love that you just mentioned was about the writing, because holding everything in, and I know that you mentioned at the start as well about how we sort of bottle, because I've been a bottler all my life because I had a very loud family. So for me, it was just better to like bottle.
Yeah.
But bottling doesn't really help us either. It kind of makes it fester more. And writing is amazing because instead of having it locked up in here, festering, we get to write it down. And if it's, it's good that it sort of triggers you to go, oh, that is a bit silly, I don't want to write it down. Because it's, it's been, you're sort of giving yourself that mental note of, okay, that was a bit silly. But getting it out on paper.
Well, it wasn't as big as you thought it was.
Yeah, it wasn't as big. And getting it out on paper, and so either with journaling or even writing it down and coming back and looking at it, that's what I love. I keep finding notes in my iPhone on the Notes app, and every time I would set a new intention on a full moon, or I would run a text. I would want to write a really big text to my ex-boyfriend, and I'd be like, no, I'm going to write it in here. But it's actually pretty interesting going back and reading that stuff now and seeing the thoughts that were going through your mind at the time, and how big we maybe made it, or it's got so built up inside that it felt so huge, but really it didn't need to be, and it could have been a little bit more avoided. So that's really great. I love that you do the journaling and the writing it down part. What I wanted to go through. So, did you happen to get anything in the mail today?
No, not yet. No. Queensland mail is really slow here. So
I express posted it on Monday though.
Oh.
Yes.
No.
Okay, I'll check with them tomorrow. Anyway, so I didn't want to tell you, I wanted it to be a surprise, but there's a parcel on its way for you. And in there is some special little samples of the ones that I use for stress management for myself and for a lot of my clients. I've also put it in, I won't spoil the surprise, but there's some samples in there, but it's also in a cool little thing that helps you be able to take it with you wherever you go. And there's some extra bottles in there because I know that you are right into the essential oil and the natural products and stuff already. So I'm pretty sure you would have a really great knowledge as well of, different things that can, help calm you or things like that. You'd probably have a nice list of that already, wouldn't you? Just a little. Oh, that's all right.
Not much. I haven't studied aromatherapy, so I normally go and speak to Julie Nelson if I need help.
Yeah.
She's an aromatherapist and she's making a bespoke perfume for me at the moment. So it is really interesting when you were talking about the different scents and how some of them can feel really abrupt, because she was saying to me that sometimes the scents that we're attracted to are not the ones that we need in that moment. Sometimes we do need that abruptness or that sharpness in the essential oil to help us move in the direction that we want.
Yes, absolutely. And I've become very intuitive with them as well. I think I have them sort of set up around my desk, not on purpose, that's just where they live. And I have one in my room and one in my bag. And I think sometimes I will bypass one to go to another. And even though it doesn't smell as great at the time, it does what it needs to do. So it is a very intuitive thing as well. But there's such a great range. I use the doTERRA stuff. I know Julie uses her own beautiful brand because she's been doing it for such a long time. There's also like a Young Living, I think, brand. There's lots of different versions. So it's really about finding what works for you. But I can tell you that using the oils, and before I started doTERRA, I was just buying any old oils from the shop because I just wanted that feel of the lavender in the bathtub and things like that. But there is something very special about the effect that the oil can have on our senses and our sensory system. So being able to calm us or elevate us. So one of the ones that I've been using, and this one actually does smell really wrong. It's called past tense. And it does just that. This I actually use if I am right about to have a moment, a really big moment. If I'm feeling it all building up and nothing else has worked, or if it's snuck up on me and I'm about to get on a call or something like that, I roll a bit of this on. This also helps with tension migraines and things. So I just put it there, and it's very much like a eucalyptus, but with a bite, and it has that sort of warmth that goes down your body. So I don't know, it's hard to explain, but definitely ones like that can sort of shock the senses, just kind of make things a lot different. But that's amazing, that one, and I keep that. That's my emergency sort of bottle that I keep there. And I have friends at the moment who are having, she has really bad tension headaches. And a lot of it is from pain and things that she's getting in her shoulders and just from sitting at the computer and things like that. So she uses, it's a cream and it can also be an oil, and it's called Deep Blue. And basically it works like deep heat on her shoulders and has that nice deep heat, as it sounds, in there. But with her tension headache, she puts some of the past tense on there, and it just really helps her relax. There's other really great ones that I use. So obviously lavender, we have all heard of the amazing effects of lavender. So lavender, I use lavender peace, or I have normal lavender for the bathtub. And there's so many great uses for it. It can be a calming thing. It can also be like an antiseptic. It can really help with antiseptic forms of things. And I've been using it in a spray bottle to spray my little guy's room, because some nights he doesn't sleep very well, or he finds it hard when he first goes to sleep. When he first goes in there, he says he's scared of the dark. He's a bit scared, but I leave all the lights on when he's first falling asleep. But I just spray a little bit of that around his bed, and it seems to really help. And same with me. If I go to bed and I'm really struggling to, shut down, I spray the lavender piece on, and it just seems to help instantly. It's just that comfort, relax thing. So there's lots of different ones you can do. Elevation is another one I use. Now this one is called the Joyful Blend, because if you are feeling really unmotivated, that one there actually can help boost your energy and boost your vibe. So like the past tense, this one kind of shocks you into, snapping out of it. This one actually sort of gives you that excited vibe and helps you boost up. And the other one I love is the citrus blend. So this one's Citrus Bliss. This one's an orangey kind of smell, and it's so beautiful. Some of these you can use in cooking. This one I use when I'm making chocolate. and I put it in there. And it's like a Jaffa. It tastes like Jaffa. It's delicious. But this one's an invigorating one as well. So anything with citrus in it will also help you boost your mood. So if you're looking to get some oils in your house just as a tool, then look for those kind of uplifting blends. But I would also suggest having a little, having one of those blends there, like the past tense one, that possibly just can help you if you're really sort of at that point where you need something to snap out of it. The other thing I wanted to chat about that goes very much along the lines of your meditation and stuff is looking to do different breathing exercises. As I mentioned earlier, when we are stressed, everything just tightens. We're not getting enough oxygen in. Our breathing is shallow. Everything is not working at its full capacity. So it's important to stop and have a couple of deep breaths. And if you're finding that just the deep breaths alone is not working, there's so many different breathing exercises you can do. So I will put a link up with some breathing exercises that I learnt at the retreat that I went to. One of them was simply holding one side of your nose and just focusing on breathing in and out that side. Or doing these ones. So breathing in one side and out the other. In one side and out the other. And what it does is it's the same as the oils or meditation. It helps you get the air in, but it's also relaxing your brain and your mind so that you're, giving yourself time to just have the downtime and relax. So with all of these things combined, there's so many great ways and tools out there for us to try and prevent or manage that overwhelm. So it's about just finding what works for you. My mum is highly allergic to a lot of oils. So she has her own now, but she doesn't like a lot of oils. Some people, it does cause them to get migraines. So it's really just about finding what works for you, finding something that's a natural stress relief. So don't go buying any medication that's going to help de-stress you or anything like that. Try and find some natural methods that are easy to maintain through the rest of your life, because that's what this is about, is keeping it maintained for the rest of your life. I think that's pretty much it. Did you have any questions at all, Geraldine?
Just in terms of the essential oils that you put on your body, do you just recommend putting it on the temples or across all your different pulse points, or was it just a matter of experimenting and seeing what works for you?
Yeah, so it really depends on the oil too. So some of them, I have this beautiful one of Balance, I've got it here. Balance is a really good one for grounding. So they recommend with this one rubbing a little bit under your feet.
Okay.
Because it helps with that grounding process. Things like the elevation, like under here and here, the places where you can really sort of breathe it in and feel it. So it really just depends on the oil itself. With the past tense, I'm more likely just to stick it here, because for me at that time, it's my brain that's melting down. That's how I feel. So this is like helping me not melt it down. But mostly I just, I just do the wrists and a little bit here. I also have these. I highly recommend. This is actually a client of mine. She made this bottle up for me a while ago, but it just ran out. So I've just made a blend up myself. But it's just a blitzer with water and oils in it.
Okay.
And it's amazing. So if you are sitting there, especially in summer, and you wanted to cool down and have a bit of a, nice oily refresh, these are great. It's great for livening the atmosphere in the room. The other thing you can do is grab a infuser or diffuser to have the oils going. But really, each one does have its own different tricks. But I think you'll find that mostly it is where suits you. So mine is definitely my wrists. I made a little bottle up for Reese the other day, which was a blend of the 4 that I just showed you. And that is actually, the blend of those 4 is a blend that a lady told me to help children who are very hyperactive and maybe melt down fast. And Reese, because he's at that age, 5, they don't know how to deal with their emotions very well. I don't know if I grew out of that at 5. I think mine carried through. But I'm trying to get him to deal with his now so his doesn't carry through. But those, the blend of those 4 is actually supposed to help really calm them down. So I made him a little blue bottle, a little roller bottle with it the other day, and he had a meltdown. And I told him to go to timeout in his room, and I said, while you're there, put some of your oil on. And he just likes to put it down here. And he came out and he was like a different child. And I don't know if it was like a placebo or like because he knew that it was going to make him happy or whatever, but he came out different. And he's like, you know, smelling it, going, look, Mummy, it smells so good. So I think it is just different with everyone. But definitely some oils are better put different places. And, you know, also used in different things. So if you, with the lavender is an amazing one to be having a bath in. You know, lavender and Epsom salts, not Epsom salts, is that right? Yeah, Epsom salts. Lavender and Epsom salts together, I don't know, your body kind of just feels like it's floating when you come out. If you've got any muscle tension or stress or restriction in your body, then those 2 together in a bath are just amazing. So it is just about working out what's really good for you in your body and what feels right. And then there's others that you can actually manually take. So of course the citrus one you can put in the chocolate, but you can get a lot of the herbs in the oil form, and they work really well as like, you know, preventative for illnesses and things like that. So yeah, so it really just depends on which one you use, I think.
Okay, thank you.
That's okay.
That's so relaxing. I'm thinking about the lavender bath, and that would be really nice.
People used to tell me about it all the time, and I used to tell my clients, oh, you should go and have a bath, but I would never have one myself until a couple of months ago. And yeah, now I try and have one every weekend because it's just so relaxing and beautiful. So
yeah, especially just to relax all your muscles as well, just the tension that gets built up there. That's what I love about essential oils, in that it's not just about the scent. It has so many other benefits to you.
Yeah, absolutely. It is all about the senses, and any stress and anxiety and all of that stuff is also about the senses. So it kind of just works hand in hand, because it's a way to block those ones that you don't want and bring in the happy ones that sort of elevate you a lot more. So yeah, I'm a big believer in them. I have them for my clients, but I don't necessarily, you know, I'm not like a little store. Because it took me a long time. My girls used to give me samples all the time, and I was like, oh, they're great, but I'm just not interested in having a store or anything like that. But it wasn't until I started using them that I started realizing like the benefits and how good it was making me feel. And that's when I started going, well, it's probably best for me to help my clients with it, because if they can help reduce my stress the amount they did, then that's worth telling everyone about, I think. So that's so cool that Julie's doing that perfume for you. You'll have to let us know.
Okay, I will. I think she'll have the 2 samples ready next week and then send them down to me, and then depending on how they go, then she'll make the full version.
Yeah.
But it's about 6 weeks to make the full version, because it's got to synergize, all the ingredients need to synergize, so she lets it sit for a little while, and it's a bit like a wine, she said.
Yeah.
Just got to wait for all the energy to happen. And she said a lot of it is about energy as well, so that's another good reason. I mean, not in terms of being energized, but in terms of the positive or whatever emotions you're feeling, it does have an effect on how the essential oils work on you. So I love that it's so holistic, this process.
It is. It is very intuitive, and it's very much the same as if you have crystals. I'm not sure if you have crystals, but
I'm not very familiar with crystals.
Yeah, well, one of the things that people don't know, they like to have them sit around the house because they look pretty. But your crystals, like your oils, anything that's been born from nature has energy in it. So the crystals, you can set intentions, like you can give them your energy and set the intention of what you want them to do, rather than them just being ornaments or, something to smell.
Wow.
So it is, everything has that beautiful, holistic feel about it. So it's just about, unlocking what it is to help it benefit you and heal you, I guess. So
absolutely.
Yeah. Awesome. Did you have any other questions at all?
No, nothing that I can think of. Just in terms of the breathing, I'm not sure whether you've heard of this type of breathing called, I think it's called Kapala. I can't pronounce it. Kapalabhati. It's a yoga type of breathing.
Yeah.
If I can find a video, I'll show you. You just be careful. You've got to blow your nose beforehand, otherwise you might have a little accident. But it's quite a strengthening breath. It helps you feel more oxygenated, and a lot of it, the breathing comes from the stomach rather than the lung or the chest area. So it's really interesting.
Is that? I think we might have.
I can only do it for a video.
Yeah, I think we might have. Is it where you breathe out like kind of thing? I don't know.
You've got to sort of grip your stomach area, like just the area under your belly button. You're contracting that every time you breathe. So it's sort of like.
Yeah. Oh, okay.
You're just going to be careful with your nose. But after you do about 30 of those, the way that you can breathe and the amount of oxygen that you're getting, and it just feels so different. Everything just feels very clear.
Yeah.
It's something that we do at the end of a yoga practice, just to help to finish it and to I guess farewell that practice and to show gratitude. But it's just a nice way to ease into the meditation.
Oh, that's awesome. And I know when we did Bikram, they had a special technique as well that was breathing, and I struggled with it at the start because of my asthma and being in the heat. But after a while of doing it, it really, it helps open your lungs and your sinuses and everything. So that's good. I'm going to have to look into that.
Okay.
But we were doing ours at the retreat. I'm not sure if I've showed you guys photos, but we're on this like balcony thing, and we all had our eyes closed and we're doing all these breathing exercises, and it started raining out there, and as we opened our eyes, it just felt so relaxed and just looking at this beautiful view. So now anytime I meditate or do that breathing, it's for some reason whenever I open my eyes, I can still just feel like I'm there.
Oh, wow.
But I was blown away by the power of those breathing exercises. It really helps.
It's amazing. Yeah. Amazing how much we close off from the world sometimes, how we just keep everything to ourselves. When we open, it makes such a big difference.
Absolutely. And it's about having, that open mind as well to be able to let it in, as opposed to, I still have beautiful friends that think that I'm a bit of a loony, talking about some of this stuff, but it works. Yeah. So go figure.
I think I'd rather be a loony than
Yeah, exactly. I'd rather be a sane loony, not rocking myself in the corner.
Yeah.
Than the opposite. So
exactly.
Oh, good. Well, thank you so much. And
thank you, Teresa.
That's all good. I will post a link when I hop off with the breathing exercises in there, and then hopefully the video will go up really fast tonight.
Thank you. I really enjoyed this session.
Awesome. Thank you so much. And I will see you in the groups and then next week.
No worries.
Okay. Enjoy your family time.
I will.
Okay. Bye.
Bye.